Okay, I've just done a video where I review where I think gold, silver, the miners, and the markets are going to go, as well as the dollar and yields. So to summarize, I feel like the commodities and the underlying ETFs, such as the miners, will all go down, and I feel like the dollar and yields will go up. That's just a summary. But in this video, I want to go over my portfolio and some of the specific stocks to see where I think they're going to go. And actually, I haven't done this yet. I like to just do it live, not exactly live, but just sort of stream it in real time and upload it so that you just see the way I draw my trend lines. So just to quickly recap, gold has essentially settled Friday at the close on the ascending support. So beautiful is what I hoped. I did think it would touch this ascending support at some point. It's done that. What's going to happen now is not as obvious. I do expect a bit of a bounce. And then hopefully, I think the trend will continue. Actually, I feel like this is a new trend. So I feel like we're going to go a bit lower eventually, not immediately. So this support will probably be hit later on. But I do feel like we'll go lower in gold and likewise in silver. I feel like we might just touch a little bit, bounce a little bit, and actually go lower. And therefore, I feel like the same will happen in the GDXs and the GDXJs. So I feel like we'll maybe venture a little bit lower, bounce, and then actually go lower and test the ascending support. So my plan is to buy on particular support that I have identified. Hopefully the market decides to agree and decides to visit there. But I do feel like we'll visit lower levels of support in the miners. Here's the GDXJ, which is a little weaker, which makes sense. It's usually stronger on the way up, weaker on the way down. Now that's the precious metals. I'm not going to do everything because I've done a video on that. Yields, I feel like they'll go higher. So descending line, breakout. Eventually, markets, I feel like they'll go lower, even though we've just tested prior resistance, and so far it's active support, but it's only the first test, and that was on a red Friday. But the Dow Jones notably never really ventured higher, and I feel like that will lead the way down. So when I see indicators like the dollar putting massive reversal, especially if we look at the weekly, massive reversal candles, I feel like we're going to go higher. So that's the weekly on DXY. And so, yeah, I think we're going to go higher. Where do I think my portfolio will go? Or where do I think I should be buying, adding to, or even selling my portfolio? Now, I have been selling a lot of my miners, so I've really wanted it to go down for some time. Gold has been very resilient, but, we had a massive drop on Friday, and it's the sort of staircase up, elevator down scenario. So I was very happy to see a big red day in my portfolio. I really want to lose money because I have a lot on the sidelines, about 50%, actually almost exactly 50%, and that's a huge amount. I mean, you ask any fund manager, 50% on the sidelines is it's almost feeling like 100% on the sidelines. I mean, obviously, I believe in the miners long term. That's why I still hold them. That's why I would trim them constantly on the way up, but they'd always be worth the same value. So I'd always want the same minimum amount in a particular mine that I believe in long term. And every time it would go a little bit higher, I would trim it back down to its minimum amount because I still believe that any day the miners would go down, and they went up a lot more than I thought. But I stayed true to my rules, trimmed it, and now we've got a big reversal, I think. So now I get to look forward to buying. It's always nicer to look forward to buying something rather than selling. Selling is always the harder part, I feel. Let's get straight into it. My portfolio. So Barrick Gold, like I said, elevator down. Look at that massive drop. We've closed below the ascending support. Let me just get rid of this old indicator. I feel like we could go lower. Obviously, I've already mentioned the fact that I think we're going to go lower. I do feel like we closed at a sort of support zone, and we did in gold. And the miners were pretty close to a support zone. So I feel like Barrick Gold could just go a little bit low, close this gap, and on the same day reverse and close green. So I feel like this sort of area here, this entire zone could be visited and is equals a bit of a sideways move. But where do I think we're actually going to go? Where do I feel like we could end up buying more? Well, if we look at this sort of zone here, you see where this was a breakout, this area here. Now it stops being that sort of a level when we get choppy here because we're constantly venturing above and below it. But I do feel like $17 is an area where I could buy again, I would mainly look at the miners, the yields, the dollar. And once I see, support in the miners or the metals and resistance in the yields and the dollar, wherever that might be, and if at the same time I see Barrick Gold around these levels here, I would probably be buying. So let's say 17-ish. I don't like to get too precise. Like I said, I'd be watching other indicators, but I feel like Barrick Gold would be around 17. So I'm going to place my little target. I like to use this as a general area of either support or resistance. Newmont, very similar. Look at that, just completely lost its ascending support. It's actually at one of my levels now. So, I could just place a target right there. I actually wasn't looking to buy on Friday, but it was towards the last couple of minutes of the trading day. I thought, wait a minute, maybe I should be buying because we're at some levels here, at least in gold. If we go lower than this, then I suppose the 40, just under 46, maybe, this sort of level here, also the low of this area. So I'd say about between 44 and 46, but I'm going to draw a bit of a fat trend line in the middle. Yeah, I feel like that's a rough area of support for now. Agnico-Eagle, okay, it's harder to draw an ascending line because it would have been very tight. It would have lost that a while ago, actually. That's why I didn't do it. It was just a bit too tight. Here, I feel like it's a very strong one too. Yeah, I would draw this. The first one would be here, and the second one, honestly, would just sort of be here. So this one, again, I would wait to see the other markets, see how they're faring, because a move to the second level would really be 10% move down in the Agnico-Eagle. That's asking a lot. I probably wouldn't be able to resist buying earlier, so I would probably start my first entry here and pray that it goes lower immediately. So I'm just going to draw these two. I'm not going to draw the lower levels. Obviously we've got a level here-ish, just before the all-time low. And when I mean all-time low, I mean the all-time low of the area. I'll draw those later. Let's not get too pessimistic, let's say. Wheaton precious metals, very, very strong. In fact, straight away I can see that it's got a bit of an ascending support here, that it hasn't been lost yet. So I guess I could draw my first right on the ascending, because if it starts to drop, it would coincide perfectly with here. So I think this is the first level. And the second, well, it's probably around here. I think here you'd have to see what's going on in the markets, because how much of a drop is it also from here? 13%. Yeah, I think Wheaton precious metal is very strong. You're not going to be seeing lows tested there. If we do go lower than this, then I guess it's here, but very, very strong. Great dip buying candidate, because you can see how strong it is. Is that all I should draw? Now you can see the level here. It's visited before 38 over here. So maybe some veterans can remember this level. I just feel like, and also it hit this. Yeah, I do feel like 38 is a bit of a level, and then 36, 35. I don't like to overdraw the trend lines, but in this case, I think it would have a lot of support on the way down, so it might be worth it. Pan American Silver, you can see my old trend lines that are very difficult to see for some of you. I'll just redraw this ascending. Obviously, we've lost the ascending support straight away. We opened below it on Friday, closed at the low of day. Pan American Silver was underperforming for some time. You'd expect it. It depends. Sometimes you'd expect underperformers to outperform on the way down, but in this case, it just sort of underperformed. And 7% drop is above average, I would say. So maybe there's still some weakness. I'm not sure of the news, but maybe there's a reason behind it. I feel like 16 is a bit of a level. It's not the strongest level. So I'm going to draw my line between the bottom of this one here, of these sort of three candles, and this level. I just in the middle. I don't want to get too. Why not 16? I'd say 16 and just below 16 is kind of a level. Let's just put my target just below it. Yeah, if that makes sense. Sort of general area of support, 16. If we lose that, then we're probably going down to test the lows of 14 and just below that. So I don't think we need to draw resistance points anymore, because I'm very much adamant that we go lower here. So let's just leave that for now. 16 on Pan American Silver. MAG, that's underperformed for some time, for several days actually. I think there was some news out. I think it was even dilution. So you could see some continuation. It didn't go down too much on Friday, but if the sector keeps going down, then I think it will have to visit the old low that it made on these during this week here, maybe 12.5-ish or 12. I think I did 12.5 because it's come down already quite a lot. And yeah, I think another 8-9% drop would really be sufficient to buy basically what I've trimmed already here. So this would be my first buyback. So I haven't even bought any of these back. I haven't bought any miners in weeks, I would say. So to buy here and to see it go lower, no problem. I would only be buying back what I've sold here. And if it goes low, I'll be buying back probably what I sold up here. So they're all total wins. Let me just add a little target here and we will move on to Gran Colombia, which has some way down to go. Closed at low of day. Very nice chart. I trimmed it very nicely, a bit early here on its way up to 3, but then also up here just around 350 or something, if I remember correctly. But I sold all of them at their recent highs anyway. I always trim on the way up. I feel like this one could go lower. Obviously, we have $3, which is very nice. We're just under $3. I'll say this here. And you know what? I'll leave it like that. I think we will visit low 3s. Maybe I chase it. If I see it going to 305 and it's not going to go to $3, I might just buy at 307 if it starts to curl and go back up. But for me, buying at 307 is the exact same thing as buying at 3. If it goes below that, let me see if that's even worth considering. Yes, it is, because I can see it do a 7% day. Then I assume, well, let's just hit the sort of rough area here, 250, go on 250, maybe just a little higher, sort of middle range of this chop. So it would be an area buy, but that would be asking a bit too much. I'm not going to plot a target there. It's just a general visual. GFI, Goldfields, really, really nice candidate. Squeezed higher after that report that it wasn't in the running to buy AUY Yamana. I mean, because it's squeezed so high, because it came down not too much and squeezed again back to the high, to me, very strong candidate. I will add the resistance line just because I'm drawn to this, to finishing this obvious technical pattern. But this one here, it can go lower, but I think around here you need to buy probably just above 10 as a psychological number. I feel like just above 10, the last pivot low there. Obviously, go all the way back down and test just below 10, but that's the same thing. Whether you buy here at 10.31 or whether you're buying at 9.81, I think it's the exact same thing. It's a general area buy. You want to get the low, but you don't want to miss it just by a few cents. So I'm going to draw these two tram lines here. And if we go lower, then honestly, this breakout here of 9, and then we'll see. But I think those tram lines will suffice because I don't have, you have a lot of holdings. You don't have time to be all cute and redraw lines when the market's moving. I'm going to put a general, in fact, I might make this quite a big, that's a bit too scary, but a big target there. If I see it around here and I see the indices sort of curling, like the miners going up, gold and silver going up, dollar and yields maybe retracing, I'll start to add there. If it falls between this area between 9.8 and 10.3, and if we go low, I'll be buying above 9. Fortitude, I really don't understand this candle. I didn't see the open. The open was wild, so I don't really know if that was a fat finger trade or based on news. But I don't really like those. They ruin the chart a bit. I feel like it's going to come back down. Honestly, this one, it's a light holding. It's I don't see it moving too much percentage wise. It's not going to move like the other stocks that I have. So this one I'm very comfortable just area buying right in the middle of the chop. So I'll leave that there. So if I see it in the middle of the 5s, then I'll just buy a little bit, buy what I sold just here under 640. First Majestic, a bit like Mag Silver, came down before the sector came down. It's weak. It didn't go down too much on Friday compared to the others, but still, when you manage another 4% after being weak and you're closing at low of day below that prior support, you'd expect it to go lower. Honestly, this one is one of my long-term favorites, so I don't want to get too greedy. I feel like just under 7.5, you need to start buying. You need to start considering to buy it, and we're almost there. So because I don't expect, if I look at the GDX very quickly, look, I feel like it could just go a little bit lower and then bounce. And I feel like if I look at the GDX also, because I was looking at the GDXJ, I feel like we could bounce any second. And I feel like First Majestic will be the kind of stock to do that, to just go a little low, 7.5 and then bounce and then make a nice sort of 10% move up before ultimately coming back down again. So this is a swing candidate for me, really, really short-term swing. So I'm going to leave this target here. I don't get too greedy and expect it to go too much lower, but for sure, if there's any continuation, which I do believe, if you look at the support lines I've got in the other stocks, then I do see them going lower, 10% lower at least. And at that point, you got First Majestic at the absolute lows here, and we could even go lower. I don't even know if there's news that justifies this move, but if you know me now, I don't really care about news unless it's really, company specific, like bankruptcy, which I really don't think so. Maybe this is because of its operations in Mexico and challenging some lawsuit. Something tells me it might be about that, but I don't care. I feel like charts are more important, and price action already prices in a lot of this and the aftermath. So yeah, I'm looking for a little nibble. Might be the first miner I nibble into. And if we do eventually go lower medium term, I'll be buying there. First Majestic, I can see already an ascending line. Maybe we've breached it already. No, we haven't. You can see that. God, we're just on it. Beautiful. So normally I would put a target where we are, but we're there. So kind of no point. It would almost interfere with the visual on the candle. I wouldn't be able to see it. So I'm not going to put that target there. Instead, I'll I guess I could just leave it there because I feel like this is where the next support is. This one's quite hard to tell. This one is a bit hard to read. Maybe there. Maybe low threes, because I do expect the miners to go much lower. I'm going to leave the target there. And let me get rid of these because they interfere. These are the old format I was using. Yeah, Fortuna was very strong. We just made new highs, and then with what was happening with gold, you can see it was forced down with the sector. But actually, this one's quite hard. I feel like this is the kind of stock where I would just buy it when I'm looking at the ETFs, the miners, the sectors, the underlying metal. And if I see those reversing, I would just buy this. This would be on my radar. I need to buy Fortuna, and I'd buy it where it is. Don't take my word for it on these lines. These are very rough visuals here. Okay, I didn't notice $3 was also a psychological level. Yeah, so I drew that because of this one. Okay, popped its head out here, hit it several times, and then broke out and never really, I guess it tested it on that one day. So $3, $3.30 on the way down, 260, 250. I guess that makes sense. The one I'm least sure about is this 330. It's a little bit of a guess compared to the others. Move on to EXK. I already drew the ascending. It's already closed below it, so it's almost obsolete unless it just rallies and closes above it on Monday. This one I can already be a bit sure about. Oh, and it's $3-ish, so that's pretty good. You can see we never ventured below it on all these during this period of chop. We touched low threes and we always bounced higher. In this case, we actually almost hit 3, plus it creates the ascending. So EXK, I think that's pretty simple, the ascending, and if we go low, it's low threes. And after that, honestly, there's nothing except maybe this area here, 2 of these. No, not really. I would just all-time low. And when I say all-time low, I mean area low. Very good stock, love it. So very happy to see this. Coeur d'Alene, one which was very weak before down here whilst the sector was doing well, and then it had a late pop whilst the metals went higher. That was nice to see. This is the one stock which I didn't sell when it moved back up. And it ended up being my heaviest holding aside from Newmont, which has been my heaviest holding for some time, although I did sell quite a lot. So this one, the fact that I didn't sell it here and then it's come back down 15% is a little annoying. But anyway, doesn't matter. Ascending support will be the first level. After that, I guess it will be the old area of support that it never took out around here. And after that, it'll be this ascending. So I don't think I need to change much. Hits this, bounces. If it goes lower, hits this, bounces, goes low. We'll have to see what the sector's doing. I'm not going to place the targets below because being under $3 would require at least 20% drop. That'll do. Discovery. This one's definitely going lower. Didn't sell this one because I never had too much of it. So it's just closed below the ascending. This line is now obsolete. This is probably not necessary, but I'll draw it anyway. Where do I think the next support is? Well, I guessed 90 cents. The immediate 10% drop with 90 cents. After that, probably, I mean, can I say 85? No, that's too much. Maybe this area. It was holding this level for a long time, months. It only went below this level for, so I'd say 80 cents. Nice round number. After that, it's the all-time low. I don't need to draw that, but I'll do it anyway. And these resistance lines will now be converted into support zones. That's my discovery. TGLDF, I'm going to leave this one. This is the one that I am not profitable on. This is the one that I just unable to trade correctly. It's just no volume. It's one of those weird ones. I'm going to skip this one. Although if it pops, I make a lot of money. TBXXF's Turmalina. This is the kind of pop I'm looking for in the other one I was just looking at, Trillium. I'll draw the ascending. It's squeezed higher. I sold again the other day at 42.50. There was some bid at 42.50. It's going to come back down. I would love that. Done very well here. Honestly, that's a big move down back to ascending support. After that, I mean, it's hard to call actually after that. I'm not even going to have an after that level. I would just buy it ascending and leave it because I don't need to buy more. And I'll finish with Reyna. And here you can see the support zone. I've already bought this down here, so that's okay. So I'll just, I'll leave that. And I'm only looking to sell it. So I'll just leave it there. That's the miners done. Thank you and enjoy your weekend.